What's up, YouTube? This is a very interesting clip that I'm stealing from M26 Lemon Grenade. So I believe these are some soldiers or Marines talking about their deployment and different bullet grains, their rifles, what was working, what wasn't. Pretty much, this is the big problem with 5.56. And that's, the most common rifle here in the U.S. Let's just see what they have to say about it.
That's what I was running.
Yeah, those are a 1 in 9. And when you run the 77 grain, because you
need a 1 in 7.
You need a 1 in 7.
And that's what my barrel was a 1 in 7.
Tracer rounds too, apparently. They want the more aggressive twist rate from what I've heard. Also, they're talking about rifles with like 20-inch barrels here. So just keep that in mind.
Our gun was different.
20-inch.
Yeah. Our guns weren't.
It was the magic bullet, and everybody thought it was great, but it's like, look at your barrel twist, guys.
Well,
and not many people.
They didn't have anybody back there who was a bullet head.
Exactly.
All they needed was a guy from a...
Right, because if you're running a big, heavy bullet like that, and your twist rate is off, it's not going to stabilize correctly. So that's one aspect of this. But they're talking about the actual lethality of 5.56 in general, and that's really what's interesting here, because here's the thing. On the civilian side of things, we're also running 5.56, but we are not running 20-inch barrels. Like, that's something that everybody needs to keep in mind, is that on your Mark 18, you have a 10-inch barrel. It's a world of a difference. Anyway, check it out.
Armory, it didn't have to be, it could have been from Pendleton or the teams or whatever that knew, what we're talking about. So I said, well, Eric, I don't buy your guns and I don't buy your bullets. But I said, those bullets that you bought don't work in the guns you bought. And I explained to him barrel twist. And I said, so we're shooting a 9 to 12-inch group at 300 yards with a red dot.
9 to 12-inch group at 3. That's actually not terrible, considering you're not really stabilizing that bullet. I mean, you do have a 20-inch barrel. This changes too when you only have a 10-inch barrel to stabilize your bullet. So,
but there was another guy, speaking of lethality, it's like if you hit him in the head, because
this is really interesting. This is the main reason why I stole this clip from M26. They're talking about the actual lethality. This guy says, some guy popped his head up. I downed him instantly with a headshot. No big deal. That's point blank.
The French documentary. Did I show you that video?
Yeah.
The guy with the RPG. He tried to come up and shoot at us, and then I remember his head popping up over that, and I smashed him right in the head. He went down because I saw the video 10 years later, and I was like...
Now, he downed him with one headshot, so just keep that in mind. Yeah, if you get popped in the melon, you're getting popped in the melon. Like a 22 might do you in.
Okay, that guy, he's dead. But there was another guy that was running at us, and Mookie's like, hey, guy next to the blue Mercedes, which we had mapped out like a range card because I didn't know what the fuck.
Pay attention. This is where it actually gets interesting.
Was what? And this guy runs out, and I shoot him. He falls face, dirt dives, and as fast as he dirt dived into the ground, like his face must have ground into the road, gets up and keeps running. And so I remember hitting him again, and I remember Mookie shooting at him. I think Eric was shooting at him as well.
Also, keep in mind, people in bad situations like that, or just crackheads in general, are hopped up on all sorts of drugs and stimulants. They might not really feel that the way you think that they would.
But he's about 300 meters out. He hits the ground again, rolls over, and then lays there, but then sits up, turns over on hands and knees, starts crawling, and we're running Mark 2.6 277 grain ammo.
Yeah.
Well, I was. And I send one right up his ass. He flattens out, and then he crawls and then turns over on his back.
Now think about that. They've already shot him like 5 or 6 times. This is the big complaint with 5.56, is it'll down somebody, but it's not going to get rid of the threat. Keep in mind too, he's shooting out of a 20-inch barrel. The velocity that he's getting on these rounds is far superior than anything that somebody's going to get out of a 10-inch barrel on the civilian side of things. Less velocity equals less lethality, especially with a round like 5.56 that is designed to be lethal with velocity. He's at least shooting this out of a 20-inch barrel. He's at least getting the velocity that he is supposed to get to get those killer wound channels, right? And even with that, I mean, he's already on like his sixth shot, and this guy's still flailing around on the ground. That guy could be shooting back at you, right? So when they talk about stopping power, it's the difference between tagging somebody a couple of times and that guy still being a threat. I mean, hey, he's flailing around on the ground. He probably knows he's going to die soon. He might just be trying to take out as many of you as he can. What if he got close enough to throw a grenade, right? So this is the big conversation about stopping power. Uh, and like this is just a fact of the matter here on the civilian side of things. If you're rocking with 5.56, that's not a 20-inch barrel. You're not even getting the velocity that these guys were getting, and that bullet becomes a lot less lethal. So, hey, if it took 6 shots to down this guy from a 20-inch AR barrel, it's probably going to take 10 shots to down him from a 10-inch barrel. That's the way that I look at it. All these Mark 18s and all these 10-inch barrels that people are running around with, their truck guns, you need to be aware of this, especially for 5.56. And I think this is a big reason why there was a huge push for 300 blackout, right? 300 blackout is pretty much like a 7.62 by 39. It's just made to be shot out of a shorter barrel. And instead of killing with velocity, which their bullets had plenty of out of a 20-inch barrel, the 300 blackout and 7.62 by 39, they kill with bullet grain. So you just have such a big, heavy, wide bullet going through you. The wound channel that it's going to put in you, it's going to kill you. On top of that, if you have a piece of lead that big and heavy hit your skeleton system, your bones, oh, dude, that's like your arm's gone. So that is really important to consider when picking out your cartridge. And I think this shows the shortcomings of the 5.56 223 cartridge in general, especially if these guys are shooting out of the 20-inch barrel and they're using the heaviest 77 grain projectile that they can, and it's still taking them 6 shots to down some of these dudes that are probably on a bunch of drugs and stuff. But hey, that's the real world. That's what we have to expect. So great clip. Let's finish it.
And I think that was my 6th shot. And then he sits up and then shot him again. And so it was 7. Like, damn. So it's like, you never know what you're going to get out of these weapons.
And it said 140-pound dude. That's what this guy is saying is, I mean, it took over 6 shots out of a 20-inch barrel, 5.56, to down this 140-pound dude. Now, who knows what kind of drugs and stimulants he was on? I mean, you're pretty much a. I'm not even gonna say it. Anyway, here's the man himself, M26 Lemon Grenade, that I stole this clip from. So I got to give him props, even though he stole the clip from. I think he tells us where it is. Hold on.
All right, the video you just saw should have been Travis Haley talking about, and somebody else, I don't know who he is, on the bridge talking about 5.56. I don't consume a lot of Travis Haley's content.
I don't either. I had no idea who it even was, but after watching the clip, I was like, that's awesome. That sums it up great, and I'm going to steal this clip from you. Don't worry. I left him a comment letting him know that I'm doing this. Yeah, I think that was just a perfect clip. A lot of people get it twisted. A lot of people will talk shit about anything that's not a 5.56, especially around here. That's America's cartridge, damn it. Well, it does have some limitations, and those limitations are, how do I want to put this, right? He's having limitations out of a 20-inch barrel, and most guys around here are running around with a 10-inch barrel. So half the barrel, double the limitation, is what I'm saying. Check your ballistics, really, really find out what's coming out of the muzzle and how powerful it is, because you never know. You might have to change bullet types depending on what you're doing. You might have to change to, this is why the AK never went away. All right. There is just no way that I can feasibly think of that a 140-pound dude is going to take even 4 shots from an AK, from a 7.62 by 39. And we're talking a 16-inch barrel, right? Because the AK, it doesn't have to have a 20-inch barrel to build up all that velocity. It can be a 16-inch barrel. Hell, it could be a 14-inch barrel. The point is, you're getting hit with a piece of lead that's so big and heavy. There's no way that you're going to take 6 or 7 of them and still be crawling around. You're going to be stopped instantly. And that is one of the big arguments to have an AK or a 7.62 by 39. Within 300 yards, the AK is pretty damn hard to beat just because of the punching power of that bullet within 300 yards. Now, once you go past 300 yards with perfect wind conditions and everything, uh, the 5.56 is accurate out there longer. So you can reach out to 500-600 yards with the 5.56, um, assuming the weather's good and everything's good, right? Especially if you're shooting out of that 20-inch barrel. But then again, you're hitting people that far away. Uh, your lethality is not as high as you would think. You could get hit with a 5.56 from 700 yards away. Uh, that's a long time for the environment to slow that bullet down, right? And you guys already just saw how some of these rounds performed at like 326 yards, I think is what it was. Somebody managed to take 7 of these and still keep moving. That's going to be compounded by distance. So the further you go out, the more velocity you lose. I mean, eventually a 5.56 far enough out is just a little tiny 22 bullet. And if it doesn't have all the velocity behind it to open up that wound channel through velocity like it's supposed to, you're literally just getting hit with a tiny 22 bullet that's going to poke a little hole in you. Now, can little holes kill people? They can, but little holes can also be survived, right? So, word to the wise, know what ammo you're using, know how far its effective range is, and know about stopping power, because you might just have to get a different cartridge for what you're doing. Yeah, I'm talking to everybody that has a 10.5-inch barrel AR Mark 18. They're very popular. I have one myself. I do. I have one myself. And in my mind, it's pretty much a CQB gun. Like, I'm not trying to even reach out to medium range with it with my 10-inch barrel. It is for home protection in the home, in my personal opinion, at least. The one that I have set up for me, right? Anyway, awesome clip. I think this just sums it up great. There's people always arguing and fighting over this stuff back and forth. The AR is better, the AK is better. They're both better at different things, at different ranges, and it's up to you to figure out which one of those you're going to need for your family protection needs. Anyway, have an awesome day, everybody, and I'll see you on the flip side.